following podcast is recorded and produced by Emerge, a media creators co-op, in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com.
Hello, welcome back to the Next of Kin podcast. I'm your host, Rich, joined by my son, Christian. How are you, sir?
Good. What's up? It's been a while.
We have not been here in a while. I've been here a lot, but you've just been too busy.
I filmed some other podcasts.
Well, you were here for the Star Wars, the 716th Attack Squad of Legion.
Why can't you get the name?
What is it called?
The 716th.
The 716th Attack Legion.
Did I name it? I don't even remember.
Yes, that was. We taped that. That dropped on the 15th. Their third episode. Your third episode dropped on the 15th.
Yep.
And so we're back.
So yeah, if you want a more Star Wars heavy podcast,
yes,
even more than this one.
I thought the episodes were they're all. It's only Star Wars, obviously.
Yeah.
And I thought the last episode was very good. The
Yeah,
last two episodes, we taped two. What we do on that one is we tape two at a time. So we tape two on Sunday, this past Sunday, and they'll be showing up over the next. Two a month, I think is the plan right now, and maybe we'll add as we go along. But
we yelled about
so check that out.
We yelled about the sequels for a while,
Yes.
or I yelled about the sequels.
Well, you all kind of yelled.
I mostly yelled.
Yes, you were a little talkative. But you had a lot to say.
I have a lot of opinions. So.
You do? Wow. Anyone listening to this podcast is not aware.
Would have got that vibe.
So we apologize for all of you that were sitting home wondering what happened to us, that were probably in a panic
they're
mode.
probably dead. That's
yes,
what they probably thought.
They murdered each other because they got into a fight over Doctor Who or something.
What?
So I don't know.
Doctor Who?
I don't know why. Well, it wouldn't be something.
Like the least controversial.
Yes. You said something about Tom Baker, and I had to murder you, and then I felt guilty. So then it was like suicide.
What?
Suicide by cop. Or something like that.
All right, great. It's devolved already.
You do like that Law and Order. He did suicide by cop.
It's all right.
I love that they love to talk about that. So they do that all the time.
Cops love that. Cops love doing that too. So
this is not one of our topics, but now we'll move on. So,
oh my God!
So lots of exciting stuff happening. Today we're gonna be talking about Last of Us just finished their first season.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about the first 3 episodes of Mando, and we're also gonna probably do. If we got a couple minutes talk about Picard, which is back, and then you said you had a couple newsy things.
That I'll quickly
what do you got newsy wise? Go ahead. I got 2 newsy things.
So. About a month ago, and this was I think we talked about like a lot of the new DC news.
Yes, we did. Unfortunately,
James Gunn said something about, I've met with Ben Affleck. Like, I got my AirPods in for no reason. I met with Ben Affleck. What'd you say?
No, keep going.
Oh, keep going? All right, he's now moving.
Go ahead.
I see. He met with Ben Affleck, and he said, like, oh yeah, he's really interested in like directing a movie with us. He's like, we're just trying to find like the right project for him, but he's interested. And then like a interview like drops today with like I don't even remember the magazine, like Variety or something. And this guy says like, I will never direct a DC movie for Gunn. He's like, no, I have nothing against the guy. I think they'll do well, but I'm just not gonna do that. And it's like, so why so you lied? Like.
Somebody lied.
So it's like, or it's like, they're like, well, he changed his mind. I'm like, all right, the vibe of like how he said it made it seem like he had like known this for quite a while.
Maybe J-Lo doesn't want him to do it. So
what?
J-Lo said no.
And then like all the fucking like reporting and stuff that I've seen, I just ignore like half the stuff he says in the interview, like the stuff where it's obviously like alluding to like pro Snyder stuff because the media, because again, like the Snyder cut people were annoying. Don't get me wrong, and like the people that want the Snyderverse back are annoying. But like the media also does like just like kind of stamp on it.
Yeah, they do. They do like to instigate.
So,
yeah,
they instigate quite a bit as well. So it's because it gets clicks both ways.
Okay.
Like so.
What else? Do you got any other important DC news?
That was interesting. It's just like why, like, so what else?
Shazam 2's coming out this week, right?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
But I'm just saying for like all what has been told thus far, it doesn't bode well that already something is like crumbled in of what he said.
It's going to be perfect.
So like, I mean, he's made a lot of statements and stuff far. So it's like, all right, what is we going to? also he's directing Superman Legacy, or whatever the hell the first one's called.
Yes.
Which he wrote, I think, as well.
Okay.
Which I think is fine. James Gunn makes good movies, so.
Yep. And there was
done a
another thing
variety of
that
superhero movies,
Will
too.
Smith might be back as Deadshot in the next movie.
The one, of course, that's what they needed. Like to bring.
I mean,
they needed
okay.
Deadshot.
All right, let me say one thing about Will Smith. Okay, like yes, he should not go ahead. You go ahead, and then I want to say something.
Anyone back?
Yes.
Like you're kicking like Henry Cavill out. You're kicking like Gal Gadot might not
That's
be
a good
back.
point.
Like Ben Affleck.
Sure.
And then like you didn't bring Deadshot back for like the Suicide Squad movie. You did.
Right.
Like you could have done that. And there was other characters in the first one, and I know it was a soft reboot basically, but it was still like you still had like Boomerang who got like shredded by a helicopter and like Harley Quinn and the same Amanda Waller. So like
and the other guy.
So like, but why the fuck would you bring back like Will Smith, like who played the most? He wasn't a good Deadshot. He was just like there.
He was Will Smith.
He was just Will Smith.
He was
like
Smith.
Will Smith in every action movie he's ever been in.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
yeah.
is this part of like his PR comeback? Like, what are we doing? Like,
Well,
like,
let me just say one thing about the Will Smith thing because, all right, like so he punched Chris Rock.
I don't care.
I don't care. Nobody really
the media
cares.
tried to make that an issue, and
of all the
nobody
things,
looks good in that scenario at all.
No.
Because like his joke was unfunny.
It wasn't
and
funny.
fair,
It was disrespectful to make. No one wanted to talk about the fact that what he was saying about Will Smith's wife, and I can't Jada Pinkett Smith, was inappropriate. And if he had Googled anything, he knew that she has a
they've known each other
legitimate
for a long
condition.
time, and from what my
Like-
understanding is, there's additional like personal context.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
To Chris Rock talking about Jada
Right.
Pinkett Smith. Not
And
to mention,
so a lot
like, and this is my personal opinion. Like unlike someone like Dave Chappelle up until rather recently, where he just like cries about cancel culture, which is like complete opposite of like what the old Dave Chappelle would have done.
Right.
Like Chris Rock has basically made a career of like, kind of like making fun of black people to white people.
Right.
Like that's kind of his jokes. I don't like hate Chris Rock, but like especially black women. So like go look at his new special too.
Okay.
Like
First of all,
his new
no.
special,
Did anybody
it's
watch
not,
it?
No,
it's
and
not
like,
funny.
And I watched like Tambourine or whatever that one
Yeah.
special was years ago. That I think he might have even won like a Grammy or whatever the hell they give for comedy for. That shit sucked. And like, and I didn't even bother watching this one. And
I never found Chris Rock super funny within his stand-up stuff. He was
He's
fine
good
in
in
sketch.
movies.
He was fine in sketch comedy stuff.
He's good at Marty the Zebra. That's my
when
favorite.
he was
Chris
he, did, he was funny in sketch comedy stuff on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
He was funny in like when he was in the Lethal Weapon movies and stuff like that. He was relatively funny in. But I never found his stand-up great. He does the good, funny routine about like using a dial phone, but it's basically a ripoff of everything. His stand-up is like a bad imitation.
Again, maybe it's not
Let me
even my
finish.
place,
His
too.
his stand-up is a bad imitation of Eddie Murphy.
He does a Eddie Murphy thing.
But he doesn't have Eddie
And to be
Murphy's
fair, like maybe
genius.
I don't have the right to judge like what is like I don't know what is making fun of like a certain community.
I just
towards
don't think
another.
I don't
know,
like
but,
Will
like,
Smith, but I don't think he has to be punished for the rest of his life because of a slap.
Yeah.
Like he didn't kill anybody, he didn't run anybody over, he didn't call anybody. Like I don't know about any
No, and it just
other
felt like
stuff.
Distraction
Sexual
for, like,
harassment.
And it just felt like
it's
they
not
were
a
shoving
cancel culture for him.
No, and it became annoying because like they made it such an issue for like it should have been like we talked about it for a day, and then it was over. But it was like no, they made it an issue for like weeks and weeks and weeks, and when it was like it wasn't one. Like it was just it happened. Like it was a moment that like it was a Kanye moment essentially. Like when like all those stupid war show moments that Kanye's had.
Right.
But like I don't know. I don't even know how we got into the weeds for Will. You said why was I don't know. Which I guess it's weird that the timing for like why would you bring that character back, and then the additional context for like because for some reason the suits seem to care about Will Smith like slapping someone.
Right.
Which again like I don't know like. Which I'm not. I don't know. I'm gonna get myself off in the weeds here.
You know what?
Like,
if I
we're getting too close to like me telling my real opinions
Let me make one reason
here.
why I'm mad at Will Smith.
I'm not saying Will Smith's like
Why I
innocent
don't
here.
like Will Smith
like,
because most of the movies, like After
I don't
Earth,
like most of Will
he
Smith's
should
movies,
apologize
but-
for society for what he did in After Earth.
I don't even think most
That
of
is a
Will Smith's movies
terrible
are any
movie.
Good. I don't particularly like any of Will Smith's movies.
I Robot's good.
I don't even like iRobot.
I like Robot
I hate
a lot.
iRobot. I think part of like
Pursuit of
I Like
Happiness,
It
he's
is
good in. He's fine in
Okay,
Ali.
No. Let me rephrase that. I think Will Smith.
His recent stuff
No.
stinks.
Weirdly, Will Smith's like when he just decides to go a little bit more indie, he does a much better job than his like action
Yeah,
ones.
I think
which
that's.
I think
I
are
think
kind
that's
of
a good. I would
painfully,
agree with that.
like,
Yep.
Kind of normal.
Yeah. When,
But
is
yeah,
this, the
and if
stuff
I
the
said
executive
anything
produces
too,
is all
like,
bad.
if I said anything across the line or whatever,
I don't think you did.
I don't know.
All right,
Maybe
moving
I
on.
don't know. Either way,
So moving on, you got any other
Whatever.
DC stuff?
I'm covering
Shazam.
my ass here. All right.
Shazam 2, Fury of the Audience. Or
This
whatever.
is a great podcast we have here.
It
isn't
is. It's going great. I'm happy to be here.
It's devolved already.
Shazam, Fury of the
That
Audience.
shit opened to 56%. Like
50%.
no,
what?
and it's not. To be fair, the audience score isn't out yet, but the
Okay.
the critic score is
50% of the popcorn did
They
not
said
pop.
someone said it was like an AI pumped it out. That was when I saw. Someone said it's the worst superhero movie ever made.
And I've seen some bad ones.
Like we gotta go. I want to go see it just to see how generic it is.
See, you keep saying things like this, but then we don't go to the
we
movies.
never go see it though.
Can we just go see?
If you could trick me into going, then yeah,
Can we
like-
just go see Puss in Boots? Can we just go see
No,
that in the
that's probably not
theater?
in the theaters anymore. It might be. It's on Netflix
Or
already.
Cocaine
though,
Bear?
or whatever the hell it's on.
Can we go see Cocaine Bear in the theaters?
I've not seen Cocaine Bear in theaters. I'll see it on. I'm gonna watch it like
We're
the
gonna
day
definitely
it comes
watch
out
it on
streaming.
TV.
No, like the day it comes out on streaming, I will watch
Yeah.
Cocaine Bear. But that's one I can easily wait for. Like,
And something else came out too, didn't something else come out?
something Shazam.
Shazam. No, something came out last week.
That After Earth thing with the Adam Driver, which didn't end up being very good apparently.
Yeah,
So
I'm
it was
just-
just,
oh,
it was
I
just
wanted-
generic
yeah.
apparently.
Yeah, well.
Which I thought it might have. There was a chance that might have like peaked out and meant something a little bit more original, but I don't think that's what it ended up being. So
Okay.
I'm sure we'll get around to that at some point
All right.
on streaming though.
Anything
Anything else for DC that I have?
no, nothing
I
important
don't
anyway.
think so.
A couple Doctor Who things
Yeah.
coming out. A couple Doctor Who, not room. Well, the one rumor is that they're going to do a show about Unit starring
People have no idea. I love when we talk about
Redgrave,
Doctor
who
'cause-
plays Bridget Stewart's daughter. So that would be good.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it speaks into the fact that that Moffat and Davies are back together for some of this, and that they're committed to Doctor Who. They said for a long time. And that they want to build a Doctor Who universe, so it's not just one show. So there's lots of rumors about things that could come across, and the one it's now right now. Granted, it was Screen Rant, but but there were some other places too where it
I love
popped
how
up.
much you hate Screen.
I
Rant.
hate Screen Rant.
Fuck it up.
It's just so bad.
I love how like 1% of the audience thinks that we knows anything about Doctor Who.
I don't really care. It's our podcast.
Also, people think, what the fuck are these guys talking about? They were talking about DC, now they're talking about Doctor Who.
Okay.
We're going to talk about Last of Us
How about
now.
we'll move on to Picard? And Picard's good.
Picard now, yeah.
And Picard's very good.
Even the Star Trek fans like it. We're just
Yes.
saying something.
Don't get me started on that. That was one of the things you guys talked about on like how fandom is just
Oh, yeah,
like
we did talk about
fandom can go fuck itself. Excuse my language, but like I'm just so sick of I'm starting a petition and it's not this and it's that and it's to this and it's to that.
I'm like that for the sequel, so like I can't say anything.
No, but you're not.
I have realistic arguments though. My
No,
arguments aren't stupid.
My
At least I have
argument,
genuine arguments.
I
that
would
believe
say,
in. Like,
I would say that your criticisms are not just because Luke Skywalker. Like yours are just more complex. I think I would agree. I agree with your criticisms.
yeah,
You know,
most
and
of you agree. Well, we agree on a lot.
yeah, and we don't. I mean, you're a little more hardcore on that than I am, but I mean,
but that's also because
whatever.
I think the deeper you're into like just I think this is the more you know about Star Wars, the more offensive the sequels are. to
Fix
you.
your mic a little bit.
sorry.
It's got it.
I'm sorry.
Just
Yeah, I was leaning
Thank
back
you.
the wrong way. I think
Leaning
I
back.
think you should think. I don't
lean
know.
back. That's a song from the like 90s.
A lot of I'm just stuttering all over the
2004.
place. I don't know. So I think one of my co-hosts on that thing mentioned like that you kind of just love everything in Star Wars, and because it's Star Wars, and I'm like, it's like you gotta push back when it's like, otherwise they can feed you anything.
My argument
Like-
with that is that bad. Some people will make the argument that bad whatever is better than nothing, and I don't know if I agree with that. Like I'll go with Star Trek.
Or like
bad
that
Star
everything
Trek.
has its own merit, which is fine.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying that you
Like,
can't watch the
yeah.
sequels and derive some form of like enjoyment out of them.
I'm not watching. I'm not watching.
And again, they're made for.
I'm not
normies,
watching 8
so-
ever again if I don't have to.
No, I don't like 8. Like
I would flip the channel if it was on TV.
yeah.
If I'm watching the TV and like there's old movies, you know how I just flip channels because I'm an old person. I'm a boomer.
Yeah. And maybe
not
I'm
even a
just-
boomer.
maybe I'm
But
just
if
like-
I'm flipping channels, and here I am flipping channels, and I see episode 8's on,
Yeah.
and I see that like
Maybe I'm just an annoying little hater.
Back
I
to
don't
School
know.
with
Maybe I
Rodney
just- maybe I just
Dangerfield's on.
nitpick.
I'm going to turn on Rodney Dangerfield's Back to School
Yeah,
because it's a
yeah.
better movie. I'm probably
I've
going
never
to watch.
Like, I don't need to ever watch The Rise of Skywalker. And they were weirdly my.
The only thing I'll say about Rise of Skywalker, I don't mind the
hate
first
Rise
half an hour.
I hate everything about Rise of Skywalker.
I don't mind. I don't
don't think I like
except for
anything
they
about that
fly
movie.
now. But I do like
Oh,
the chewy.
fucking don't get me
the
started on
chewy
they
stuff
fly
is
now.
I like some of that. I don't
Ah,
mind.
I
Like
hate
I don't
that
mind.
shit.
Some of it. But after I
be
can't.
fair, like,
but
I
I
mean-
will. But I like Force Awakens. That I would watch
To be
Force
fair,
Awakens
Rise
because
of
I like
Skywalker
Harrison
looks like
Ford
a
in
movie
that
that
movie.
was made in 18 months because it was. So
Okay, but I don't mind Force Awakens. I can watch Force Awakens. I know you don't like it,
No,
but
no,
I
no,
like.
no. I think you can watch Force Awakens. I can turn my brain off and think of Force Awakens being in like a universe like by itself, which is just like one person's like weird take. Because
Sure.
they're weird. Because at least Force Awakens like occasionally like the tone and like vibe like becomes Star Warsy, and I think in that movie Rey and Finn actually have something to do,
Yeah.
and they feel like Star Wars characters, and
And-
the relationship they have
And
with
you
one
said on
another
the other
is a
one
Star
that
Warsy
even
relationship.
BB-8's not fucking annoying on that.
BB-8's because he's actually physical.
He's just like
he's
a
not
physical
fucking
robot.
CGI,
Yeah,
like thing
yeah.
driving walkers around, which is like what happens in like
Yeah.
what Chopper does,
Yeah.
like in Rebels, which
Yeah.
is like which again like is canon and is like technically can't happen in the Star Wars universe, but there's always been a balance between like the amount of stuff that happens in the show. Like again, you've watched the cartoons now.
Right.
Like there's stuff that's a bit more fantastical, like slightly, right? But it's not overly. But and then the shows have kind of like, especially like the Mandalorian and stuff, which has incorporated characters that were first appeared in like live action. Like for like Ahsoka, for instance. Like Ahsoka does like where live action wasn't nearly as like nimble and quick as like the cartoon, because like that's not gonna happen. Like she's literally like just you know what I mean.
Right. No, I agree. Yep. No, I agree. All right.
All right,
Let's move on.
Yeah, talk about Picard real quick. And
So
then we can
no,
get
but
into
I
our
mean, I
main
don't want to get
topics.
into Picard too much because I don't think there's a lot of Star Trek people on this thing. But
Oh, yeah, we want to talk about.
I
yeah.
say is I really like Picard. I think
sure.
it's. I would say right now, I think it's as far as where we are in this season.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best 3 episodes of the 3 seasons. First 3 episodes.
whole?
Like as a whole,
Yeah.
I've enjoyed the first 3 episodes of this season over the first 3 episodes of the previous 2 seasons.
Well, I think I liked that it was an arc almost. Like
Yeah.
it felt like a 3-episode
I don't
arc.
dislike the second season of Picard, and I don't dislike the first season of Picard. But I feel like this is the one,
'Cause the
and
story
I
can
think
kinda
the
go
why
anywhere.
the Star and here's why I
Can
think
kinda
the
go
Star
anywhere
Trek
now.
fans like this.
Yeah.
The Star Trek fans like me like this because A, it's on a ship and it's a Federation ship. It's not some like pirate ship or whatever Rios' ship was supposed to
And
be.
the third episode was like a classic.
And the
like,
third episode was very classic.
Like-
how do we get out of this from the technology standpoint? And
Life
while
or
we're
death
struggling
scenario.
with
Yeah,
we got the
exactly.
technology bit,
Your
but we have the
environment.
human stuff going on while the technology stuff's going on.
learning
It was
from
very,
your environment, like
and
this
how
new
they all
environment, too.
realized if they just work together, like Fantastic Four, and they could be successful.
Yeah.
And there's a
Well,
there's a
used past
theme to that.
experience and like all like everything
There's-
came together.
Yes,
and,
but
like,
that's a very Star Trek thing. Like I rely on your skills. They made it, the dipshit from Chicago captain is great now.
that's the
We
idea
like
for, like,
him.
the Federation.
Yeah,
in
like it's
itself
really
and
it's come a
everything,
long
so-
way. The second episode obviously had the return of
microcosm.
Worf, who was just incredible.
Yeah,
and
he was really good when he's been on screen.
yes,
So
he's been great, and I think like even the lines like beheadings are on Wednesdays. Like they brought back a lot of times.
dry humor.
Like when we remember we were mad when they brought in Harkness back in that one episode of Doctor Who,
Yeah.
and he was the actor, but it wasn't the way the guy talked.
no, he
like
didn't, he
the
was,
writing
they didn't
was
write him
wrong.
correctly. Yeah.
Michael Dorn's writing as Worf was accurate. Like it sounded the
To be
stuff
fair,
he
it's
said.
what's his name writing this too and
Who?
directing?
Right.
Who wrote this?
Not Frakes, not
Okay, so
John
Frakes
Frakes.
just-
John Frakes is
Frakes
one of the
just directs,
directors,
okay.
and I don't know if even he does. I didn't pay attention to which episode he directed.
He directed most of like the
He
first,
directs
at
a
least
lot
two
of them.
these so far.
Yes,
Like, the
I don't know if
last one
I don't
definitely
remember if he
directed.
directed the third
He
one.
did,
but
I think.
the second one, but whatever. He's not
the
writing.
third
though.
one he definitely
He's
did.
not.
Okay,
He could
cool.
definitely be the showrunner for a Star Trek show.
Yeah, I
though.
got
I
you.
would take it all day long because he's a very good director. Plus, he knows Star
I'd say,
Trek.
'cause
So
I've liked his
he could be like a
episodes quite a
Filoni
bit, so.
version of, and he would understand the vision because he knows all the Star Trek people.
Mm-hmm.
Like he knows Berman and he knew Roddenberry. So
Yeah.
I think he would bring like that kind of guy
you.
could put together the right kind of thing. So if you like Star Trek Next Generation and you like Deep Space Nine, I think you would like so far what
lot
you're
of
seeing
Deep
on
Space
Picard.
connections.
There's definitely a lot of Deep Space
Even
Nine.
more. And
The
last
Founders
season,
are
there was a lot of
back.
Deep Space Connections too.
Yeah,
so.
like there's a lot of the bad guys from that thing, but although it's a weird evolution of those bad guys,
I was like an offshoot.
there's going to be something interesting with that. And I like the terrorism bit on it, so okay.
Cool.
But let's get to the Last
Let's get
of
to
Us.
Well, I've know of this story. I've played it.
Well, let me say
So
then
let's start
before
with you.
I'll start with
what
yes.
did you think about like about the show, and then more importantly for like me about like the narrative and like the story, because that's obviously I've seen that before, and that's what's very important
It's
to
the
me.
worst thing
Although I think this show has been like, oh, well, you go first. I don't want to talk too much.
It's the worst show I've ever seen.
I know.
No.
Yeah,
I can't make it's the best video game turned into a TV show ever
Well,
because
it
I
is.
don't play video games. So
It is.
I couldn't. I know you can say that. I don't have that reference.
the only good
All
one.
I'm going to say is that I watched the first season and I enjoyed every single episode of the show. So I can't think of an episode. Rarely can I tell you I've watched a season of a show and said, man, every episode was great. Right?
Yeah, like I think that's not an overstatement.
I think I enjoyed every single episode for what it was. I didn't think anything was filler. I thought they were all important for character development. It's not super long. They didn't have when we get to Mando, they didn't waste my time. Everything I feel was necessary for the story development. I don't think even anything was too short or too long.
No, really, I just think the pacing was rather good.
Yeah. It's incredible. Let me finish. It's incredibly well performed. The visuals are incredible. You can tell they spent their money well, unlike Halo that I'm not sure what they spent the money on. No, but I think that's a fair comparison.
That show and be honest.
No,
with
we don't
ourselves
have to
about
rewatch
that.
it.
No, we have to be honest because I think we were bad. We were mean to it. I think.
Okay.
But I remember some of the things we said, and I've rewatched some stuff, and I'm like, God, I was wrong. We need to berate this.
We have to go back and be worse?
Like that.
Oh, I thought you were supposed to apologize.
We were far too generous with it.
Oh, okay.
We were. I apologize because we should have gave that the beating it deserved.
Well, we could argue that that's three things: that show, Lord of the Naps,
Lord of the Naps,
and I fell asleep I think 3 times.
Yeah, that's
the Rings of Naps, the
Rings of Naps.
the Power Naps or whatever joke I was made, and then the other one that's awful, and I think it got canceled. Willow got canceled.
Yeah.
Thank frigging
God!
It was so bad. I didn't even finish it.
No, we stopped.
I'm like, I just can't do it. Who does
I
the
was
show
trying to-
appeal to?
I was trying to
Who
be nice
was
to it in
this
the
show
first couple
for?
episodes, but I'm
Oh
like,
my lord!
It was like CW shit. I was like, bruh.
CW.
It didn't look horrible. But
Okay, well, great.
But that's not
So,
enough. So
That's a reason to date. It didn't look horrible. It's terrible. It's just, it doesn't. It's just terrible. It's just
no.
So anyway, back to the show that's
no.
good.
Yeah, that actually
It's
good
incredibly
stuff.
well acted. It's well directed. I like every characters. I will say, and this is a funny thing about this show that I'll say, based on because I love what we do, the concept of our podcast. Watching the show with you, I think made the show more enjoyable because I could live a little bit vicariously, not having played the video game, seeing your joy in what was coming onto screen.
No, because here's the thing.
Let me finish that point.
Quick,
so you said some things, and then I felt like I had to go back and do research on why the video. So, oh my God, it looks just like the game. So you would say things like that, and then I would go online and research and find other people that are like, oh my God, they're looking at the tower or the building, and it's the same shot. It's like I think I like
they would go up to bat. They would be the moment would come, and you as the audience member would if you had played the game, it was almost know it was coming soon, and they would just step up to bat, and they'd fucking hit it out of the park every time.
And the last thing that I'll say that I liked about it
the
too
big
is
moments, at least.
the guts and the expertise to take something that obviously you're going to talk about this that was in the game, but feel like they could turn it around a little bit and change it. Just enough to make it original,
make it more palatable,
but also not offensive to the original story of the game. And I like the reuse of actors, I really like the shout out that they recognized there's iconic voice actors that appeared in the game, and they said, "Here, you deserve to be part of this."
And they all put
too.
in sick performances too,
Yes.
All
right, that's what I had. Go ahead.
And I'll shout them out the Tommy from the game. I'm blanking on his name. I'm gonna blank on all these guys.
Tommy,
names.
can you hear me?
If you can look up all these guys, that'd be great.
All right, well, you start talking.
So Tommy was in 2 episodes actually. He was kind of the main henchman to that Catherine, I think, was the new character they introduced for that 2-episode arc in the middle.
Right.
Then you had Joel, was kind of like was on the cannibal group, which was a group that he massacred in the game. So like that, and he got a really meaty role, and he got to be murdered like by Ellie himself, which I'm sure the
Gabriel
actor loved.
Luna plays Tommy, but you're talking about the original. Tommy?
I'm talking about the original Tommy, but the original video.
What
game
did he
guy,
play in the show?
He did the voice. He was. I don't remember
James?
the guy's. James. He might have been James.
Troy Baker was the guy who played.
No, Troy Baker is Joel from the game, and Troy Baker was in the cannibal commune.
Okay. Right.
Whatever you want to call it. Then in the ninth, probably the best of all the performances, and also the shortest was I'm blanking on her name.
The mother.
The mother, played by Ashley, I believe is the girl. What's her last name?
I'm trying. What the problem is? I got
look up Last of Us video game voice cast.
Oh, you want me to do it that way?
Yes, just look up video game voice cast. That'll be quicker.
Hold on.
They also do the mocap, by the way,
What,
which is much more additional work than just doing voice acting as well. So they put in a lot of work for that, and they deserve to be credited because a lot of the time they only get listed as voice actors for those roles.
You know, was it just me or the voice actor who plays Ellie's mother, who was Ellie in the game?
Yeah.
Did it? God, she looked like Ellie.
Yeah, weirdly, and so many people actually said that, like, Ashley Johnson.
Ashley Johnson.
And weirdly, Ashley Johnson also has a Twitch channel where she...
Jeffrey Pierce, the guy with the big beard who died fighting the clicker.
Yes, exactly, Jeffrey Pierce. So, yeah, who's in a bunch of other stuff as well.
Right.
But, yeah, each of them got good roles, and I think Ashley Johnson put in the best, actually. And where she's playing Ellie's mother, and you got this moment of, like, basically Ellie from the game, like, meeting Ellie, right. like our Ellie, like Bella Ramsey, who's also put in a really good performance. And a lot of people thought that Bella Ramsey actually didn't look like Ellie that much. And I think, like, in that scene,
I thought she did.
Weirdly, as someone who hasn't
I thought she looked just like them.
I mean, she's a bit older now, so maybe she's like kind of grown.
I thought she looked like the mother. I mean, I thought Ellie looked like her mother. I thought they.
I agree. I thought it looked.
I thought she had that same kind of like her eye placement or whatever you want to call it. I felt that they looked a lot alike.
Bella Ramsey's gonna win an Emmy for this show. I think, like, genuinely, because for that episode 8 where she has to deal with like all the like that's her, like, I've seen multiple like people come out and be like, yeah, that's her Emmy like role right there that they're gonna send in. Because, like, Bella Ramsey, like, what's her name? Pedro Pascal was really good in this as well. And they added a lot more, even more layers to this in the show than they did to Joel in the game.
Right.
But fucking Bella Ramsey. And, like, 'cause again, like, Ashley Johnson, the performance she puts in as Ellie is, like, so likable and so, like, iconic. In, like, both games from what I'm aware of. But especially the younger Ellie, like, from this season.
Right.
And, like, for Bella Ramsey to come in and, like, do it so well that, like, we accept both, like, in their own way. Is really incredible, and she's probably now put in the best like performance of it as like a video game character, like, and followed up right by Joel, obviously by Pedro Pascal as Joel. But like this has been like the best adaptation of anything video game wise. There's nothing close, really. It's like this, then like fucking Sonic the Hedgehog is like probably like it's like way down there is like second with like maybe that one Tomb Raider movie that wasn't horrible, and then like maybe the original Mortal Kombat, which isn't also horrible. Like, but like, I mean,
let's just kind of hit out on the show itself. I mean, I think we don't really need to break down the show.
What about like the themes and like narratives and stuff like that? I want to think like, or like the big moments of like the shocking moments of like the end, like for instance, which is obviously like a very very like. Complicated, like not morality, but like philosophical, like almost thought.
It's funny because obviously we've already discussed some of the other things, but
true. We don't need to go back on
like,
all the other stuff.
I do like the way they kind of did some things. Like I said, the way they kind of.
We should talk about 8 and 9 mostly because we didn't talk about the cannibal episode and then the finale.
Well, the cannibal episode is just freaking amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, what's funny about it is. You immediately kind of you knew, but I don't know the story. Yeah. So I immediately, Zach and I were watching it with you, and we immediately knew that they ate the dad. Like as soon as they said that, you know, like you kind of knew what was up.
But Which is wild. That's some
Which,
dark,
yeah,
fucking
the
wild shit to put on. It's HBO, but still.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just done really well.
Some Game of Thrones shit.
And then they kind of, I just think the way they directed it, like, you don't even see, like, the bodies of the dead for a while, too. So it's interesting.
It's not overly gratuitous,
like,
the show.
It wasn't, at first you think, well, they just ate that guy. But like, oh, they're eating everybody. Like, because we saw like
Everyone
a whole bunch of
eat,
body,
or they find out in the woods or whatever.
And then you realize, and I think Zach said it. It was like, oh, not only is he a cannibal, he's also a freaking.
Well, is that why they attacked Joel?
Yeah,
like they attacked Joel because he probably had a horse, but they were also probably going to kill them and eat them.
Maybe
like we don't know. Like I don't know if that faction of guys was also on board the eating train, or if like because again it wasn't because they wasn't seem like they were being honest with everyone. Like it didn't seem like they
only
knew
a couple
they were
people, only that crew
people.
that went out with him knew.
Yeah,
I
thought I didn't know that the vibe was they didn't know they were eating people or they suspected.
I don't think most of the people realize they think that they're eating rabbits and animals deer and stuff that were. They would eat those too, but I think that he was, I mean, it probably starts off like, like innocently, and then it just has gotten worse and worse and worse because they don't know what the hell they're doing.
What I very much appreciate about this is like there's a lot different and there's a lot of stuff they approach differently, which I think most of the stuff they changed, like it made it better. Which again, like this is like a what's it called? Neil. I'm blanking on the guys' names. That Neil Druckmann, I think, is the guy's name, and
that's right.
Craig Mazin. Which Craig Mazin did Chernobyl, which I think we've talked about a little bit on this before.
Yeah, Neil Druckmann.
Chernobyl was, I think Chernobyl literally got called one of the best things ever made. And probably, that's not even an understatement. Like, if you haven't gone and watched Chernobyl, it's literally 5 episodes. Go watch it. But this was his next thing after that. He wanted to go make Last of Us with, like, the creator for the game, which, again, is a blueprint that everyone should now follow. We're getting a talented guy in the movie industry to match up with the guy who wrote the game, who understands the source material.
I told you that, like, as soon as that show came out, every show that's in development that's based on video game had a production meeting the next day.
And every script that ever came out for a video game before should be ashamed of themselves. And all the writers who just wanted to use it as a vessel for their own story, or who are too lazy to go into the source material and understand it.
This reminds me of? You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of like 25 years ago.
Yeah.
When graphic novels came out and they were incredibly well written. And they started to be turned into projects, whether it was animated films and or movies that were based on graphic novels, like Sin City. Obviously, the Dark Knight trilogy is based on graphic novels. And everybody's like, oh, it's a comic book. Real movies are based on quality writing by famous books. And I'm like, I don't have a problem with that. Like Dances with Wolves is a great book.
We can't possibly keep the video game storyline.
Yes, but the video.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
The end of society, children playing video games. There was that eliteness by Hollywood writers that a good story doesn't matter. It has to be written by a Hollywood writer.
That a video game writer couldn't possibly could write something as good as maybe a Hollywood writer,
right?
Or which again there is overlap. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But that's always been the vibe, which is why it seemed, which to me has always been why it seems like because I imagine that many of the guys who at least wrote these games and stuff like that, or the storylines, or helped world build, would like to be involved with the actual project themselves. And so often they haven't been. Not that we've had so many video game things, but
when you think back, and obviously we
have a lot of video games, and now is the floodgates have opened. We are because again, Amazon knew that basically just made a bet that that Last of Us was going to be good and that a bunch of shit was going to be popular after it and be in demand. So they went and bought Fallout and Warhammer and what's it called? What's the other one?
It's smart.
And we have Fallout, God of War, and in the other one I just said, which are 3 really good franchises. 2 of those in particular have God of War has particularly good stories, especially with the
throughout the history of film,
PlayStation exclusive games.
Throughout the history of film, it wasn't all just guys in Hollywood writing. I mean, back in the 40s, and the things came from the Broadway plays.
Yeah.
The Broadway plays quite often were converted into
Movies.
Moved to movies. And then you got into a section there where they did a lot of books, a lot of classic novels. Then, what?
The Movers.
The Movers?
That's in an Avatar, the sequel series, Korra. They have they invent movies, but instead of calling them movies, they're like the Movers. It's like they're I don't know. So it's because that's like a 1920s ass aesthetic.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize. I don't know that one.
Yeah, you haven't
but
watched
then,
that show.
but then, so definitely, there's been a lot of times over the years, like obviously your Hollywood musicals, they came from Broadway music, like Broadway musicals. Rarely was a Hollywood musical not based on. There were some. Singing in the Rain, but a lot of them were just based on just filmed versions of what they did. And what they did with a lot of those Hollywood musicals, they literally would bring the Broadway stars in to play those roles. So it's not like what we're doing now in film is different than anything before. What's the popular source material? Well, video games are a popular source material. It was graphic novels. It was stage plays. It was whatever. It was Japanese stories getting adapted a lot. Why?
Oh, yeah,
because
weirdly that's the next. And I want to touch on that really quickly, just because of how popular like manga and particularly anime are in the United States. Now, and there are a whole the amount of money that generates.
Yeah, you got a lot of built-in
so
fans.
Big. Manga generates more money than comic books now, if I remember correctly, by a lot. Oh, and they keep a lot of comic book stops in going essentially.
You got anything else for Last of Us? Anything? What are you looking? What are you looking forward to for season 2?
I'm actually deciding if I'm going to play the game or not first.
So you haven't played the game?
I haven't played Last of Us. I know what happens in Last of Us 2, but
I know. But have you played the game and seen all the cutscenes?
I think I've just seen all the cutscenes. But weirdly, I want to talk about the changes a little bit for this first season, especially for just to make it. And again, this is also a shot at every writer who's we can't possibly adapt video games into a coherent storyline, because the first Last of Us game is not particularly long. It's 10 hours, and this is and that's a lot of that 10 hours when you're completing it. Unless you're maxing out everything or whatever, all the little side stuff or whatever, is just kind of running around and sneaking around zombies or people or shooting people and stuff like that, which is not particularly a huge amount of time that fills the episodes, because it would get repetitive and it would get disinteresting, because obviously the way they keep it from getting less interesting. Right, you're playing, so it's more interesting for you because you are the character that is hiding from these things themselves. And also, the level designing and stuff gets harder, naturally throughout the game. It just by.
Let me ask you a question while you're talking about this, because the only criticisms I found online when I was reading stuff, if I was on Twitter or whatever it might have been, the only criticisms were that some game purists that felt like there should be more action.
That was one thing that people mentioned was maybe there was I just think the idea was I would say like maybe they could have found a way to incorporate a couple more infected scenes in, because like it is a much bigger part of the game than like because there's not a, but again I think they've
said. But I don't want it to be Walking Dead where they're just walking around.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
not really
the
main.
That.
They focused much more in on the meat of the story more than on the aesthetic, which again like. I think there's a lot of in-universe reasons, like once they get to like Wyoming and shit, why you're not seeing a lot of them.
Yeah, because
like it's cold and like.
And there weren't a lot out there to begin with.
Yeah, and there was like
they don't wander into the mountains.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
so.
And then the other thing I thought that was kind of funny, like, and I'm going to counter that, is like because I remember when Star Trek the movies came out, the JJ movies come out, people were like, "It's too much action." so no matter what, fans are just jerks.
Because again,
they're either like
in this case,
there's not enough, or too much,
you made a good point because I'm going to
like
shift
this,
from
like they're never happy.
You made a good point. I'm going to shift it.
It should have been 38 minutes and not 37 minutes.
Infected to human though, because like for instance, like you also have like Joel, like probably throughout the game, like before he ever even gets to the hospital at the end, which we'll talk about next. I'll get into that after that. I'll segue into that. Like has probably you as the character might have killed like 300 people.
People or
like
clickers?
Fucking no people. Like it'd be like you probably.
Yeah, but they were all bad.
Obviously, like in the game,
they were all bad though.
It's a little much. Like if you're,
it's a lot. That's a lot for a TV show.
300 people.
That's a lot for a TV
9
show.
episodes.
Yeah.
Like
what is this, Law and Order?
Again, he probably killed again, we probably could. We can like if we saw
a 70s cop show
before. And
just
again,
shooting
I'm talking
people
just before the final.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Like episodes 1 through 9 or 1 through 8. Like 1 through 8, yes.
Okay, and I know nothing about that.
We probably see him kill like 10 people.
Right. And here's my point, and I know where you're going with this, and I agree with this, and I think this is the point you're going to make, and that's why I'm reading your brain. That if he kills that many people leading up to the last episodes, what he does in the last episode. Oh, he always does this.
When again, spoilers,
it's better.
spoilers.
Yeah, well, okay.
But for all this, but like in the last episode, and this is the last episode is basically just the game. Like how they do it in the game. They finally get there. I think the way they get caught is a little different. Like I think the scene where they talked about spoilers as well, where Joel talks about like the guy who missed, like with the boat. That's new. That's a new.
So that's not in the game.
That's a new addition, actually. Okay. That's a really nice new addition that I
love that a lot.
I, as a fan, like a lot. The giraffe scene, right out of the game, including the background, is the fucking same. Like it's literally like it's framed the same.
A baseball field or something.
The baseball field, even the buildings that are there. It's like basically it's like an updated like live action shot of the game. Like they just put it in. Like you can tell it's kind of on a blue screen, but like still. And people thought the fucking giraffe was CG. It wasn't. It was a real fucking giraffe.
You can get a giraffe.
It's a real giraffe. Like, it's a real giraffe.
You fed a giraffe.
I already saw someone on Twitter be like, this shit sucks, and it had thousands of likes. I'm like, it's a real giraffe.
Wait,
CG sucks.
Stop. So you're saying that there was an asshole
multiple, like
who
thousands
said
of people
that's
thought
the
it was
worst
a bad CG giraffe.
They thought that was the worst CGI giraffe ever?
No, they just thought it was bad. Not the worst ever, but they thought it was a bad CG, and I'm like, it's a giraffe. It's really there.
Have you fed a giraffe?
What?
Yes,
I think so. Probably.
You fed a giraffe at the Buffalo Zoo. Yeah, you can get a giraffe.
I'm sure Hollywood can get a giraffe.
Yes, they can get a giraffe. There's zoos.
Even though Game of Thrones couldn't get elephants, but you know
that would just
we gotta throw shots every time we can at Game of Thrones.
Well, I don't know the context.
The finale, like there's a whole thing where like in season 7 and in the games, like the Golden Company is known for like their elephants, and then like they show up and they make the Golden Company a joke in the final season because they didn't have time for them. So like they get there and Cersei's
let's not go down that
like,
road
where
again.
Are your elephants? And it's like they don't like the ocean.
Oh, okay, all right, lazy.
We
ass.
couldn't afford that.
We got to work on our Star Wars movie, but not. All right,
I'm getting fired from it.
Stay with Last of Us, please.
But like you were saying, that because again, for instance, in the game, like most of like the moment, like even the moment in the cage, and I believe the infected moment in episode 8, and even like the most of the context of like how the action when the burning like cabin when she's like fighting off the really creepy like cult leader guy.
Yep.
Which I liked him. I liked that he was like almost like he didn't believe at all in like religion. He was just using it to like manipulate like all these people.
Yeah, he was,
and to prey upon their sense of hopelessness and like
to prey on like
and
hope
and
children too.
Yeah, that as well. And obviously he was a very creepy like fucking predator as well, and a cannibal. He was far too happy to eat what he knew was human. But yeah, what was I saying? Sorry.
You were just talking about just some of the changes.
I'm talking about even like in the game, like Joel wakes up, realizes that Ellie's not there, whatever. Does that torture scene, which is really good. I've never been more excited to see a fucking torture scene because that's like word for word, like shot for shot, like right out of the game, where he's like, don't worry, I believe him, and then he just like he breaks the pipe over his head. Oh my god! Like I've never been more excited to see like that shit show up. But in the game, Joel like infiltrates it at night, I believe, and like Joel ends up taking out a good amount of people in the cannibal camp as well. It's almost like a two-prong where like Ellie gets out from the inside and kills that guy and almost gets assaulted and has like that same very, very traumatic experience. Which also like just as a little hint, like because again that guy was a piece of shit, like cannibal, like pedophile. Or whatever, but like the brutality in which that Ellie is able to dispatch him.
That's obviously important.
It shows that like that's the first time that we realize like, oh fuck, there is very much like a there's a part of Ellie that is like very
well. There was two things they did really well. So when she gets out of the cabin and Joel finds her. and that Joel didn't have to do the saving, which they talked about in the whatever the episode review.
Which I actually like that.
I like that an awful
that
lot. And then he
show.
calls her baby girl for the first time, or whatever he calls her.
Yeah,
which I thought was really cool. Beautiful. And then the next episode is pretty cool because I like the way the last episode of the season starts off. That it's clearly after that. Now they've been walking for a while to get to the hospital,
just different. Like,
and she's different, and he's different because he's trying so hard.
To get her back
as a father figure to kind of, hey, tell me a joke, and hey, I found Chef Boyardee, like all these things that you would do with like this child that you feel now something special to try to get them back. So like even the laughing, and then finally that's why the giraffe scene's so important, because he actually finally sees that there is a way for her to come back by seeing some of the beauty that still exists, and that's why he even has
like
has the guts.
Still have
as
that.
A father, I respect the writing and the development that in that father role to bear his his honesty.
Yeah.
That he was at a dark place and they tried to kill himself, and it's almost like he's trying to give her. Like, don't go to that dark place that I went to. Don't go to that dark place that I went to.
Like, that was the only way he could do it, because he's not really the most equipped as like the way he's as a person.
He tried, and you could tell that he was failing.
Yeah.
And she was
best
going
way for me to
along with
describe
him
that
too.
little
Like
part of Ellie
she was
is-
like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Like she was trying to, like she knew what he was trying. You could tell
Ellie has a lot of Joel in her.
Yeah, of
like,
course.
That's it, like in that, and Joel has that same dark place that like Ellie has, that showdown in that moment.
Yeah,
as
they're
well.
like the
They're
hybrid.
Both able to. Yes,
they're like the hybrid.
No, I've said that I think on this podcast before.
Yeah.
I'm like the two of them are very much like the hybrid toward
Like
the
from
end.
Doctor Who.
Like where they love each other, and it's a little bit like Jedi Sith thing, or like the Anakin fall as well, where
it's kind of like Mando and Grogu.
Like evil things can be done with good, like or bad things are done with like the out of love almost. Because in the last episode, like they get caught by fireflies, and Marlene's like, "How the fuck did you get her here? Like I almost died, and like you just went by yourself." And like you're, it's like
well, she killed a lot of people along the way.
Well, that's true. But like, it's like I lost half my guys. So, like, and you're here with just her. It's like, how is that even possible?
Yeah, but we lost our pickup truck. So
yeah,
you know.
And then they tell her, Joel, which is just right out of the game too, that they're gonna we gotta kill her basically to dissect her to figure out so we could reproduce like a cure.
Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know what this doctor is like. I don't know.
He
what,
could have
what
been a
does Marlene
fucking
know
dentist
about,
for all
like,
we
fucking,
know.
Like,
yeah, he could have been a dentist for all we know.
I don't know.
Like,
Maybe he's a veterinarian. Like I don't fucking like.
Yeah.
So either way, like they try to get him out of there essentially, and just make him like leave, and he's not having that.
We don't need to review it, but I mean, I
so
think
he just murders like probably 40 people.
And we don't see all of them.
And every time you think it's done, they go to the next scene of him shooting somebody else.
Well, what I think I liked was that, I mean, you said they changed it from the game, so I think the way he just risks everything because he knows he has to do it, and then the way the episode ends, that he just lies to her because he does it to protect her, and he doesn't want her to deal with maybe we should try to find some place where they should take my brain. But they never explained to her no one explained to her the procedure, it doesn't sound like, or any of that.
Well, if you look at Ellie and you look at even the stuff on her walls, Ellie loves comic books, and she loves the moon and all these high fantasy things. So they've almost preyed upon her with telling her that she has this cure and also she's struggling with a lot of the things that she's done. Because she's very.
She had to kill her friend, and she admits to that.
Yes, she's traumatized from what that guy tried to do to her, but she's almost traumatized by I have this in myself that I can.
She had to kill her friend.
That too, but but particularly when she breaks, in that last episode though, and she where she changes after the traumatic experience, where she's also kind of traumatized by that she has that in herself,
right?
As well to do that.
All right, well, we're at 48 minutes. What else do you got?
I don't know. I lost my train of thought.
How long till we get the next season? About a year?
Probably 2 years.
Okay.
We'll see. Actually, I don't know. The game 2 is much longer, so it's gonna be split up into 2 seasons. Bella Ramsey is staying in the role, which because people were talking about that. She's 19 now, which is how old Ellie is in the second game.
Oh,
So
okay.
like
They're not
it's a
gonna
5-year
recast her.
jump. Like
They're not
and
gonna
they basically how you saw her this season, they were all just doing tricks constantly to make her look
They did.
younger.
I think
and she
that-
wore like a
yeah.
chest binder like a lot of the time too, which
Yeah,
is not healthy
read-
to do,
I
and
was-
like I appreciate like because it helps the realism.
no,
but
that
that's not
wasn't-
an easy thing to do.
No, that's not an
So-
easy thing to do, and it wasn't like it was a thing that they did so that they can
For
prep
immersion. Like-
yeah, so they can keep her and not spoil it by bringing
and
a
she's gonna
different
be able
actress
to
in.
age up to that newer,
Yes.
like older Ellie,
Yeah.
I think, very well. And she's clearly shown that she understands and like has brought a lot of nuance.
And she'll be a couple of years older, so it'll help. When
I
she's,
thought of something.
when-
How do you like think of like the Bill letter now, with the context of the ending, where he's like, it's like I found it's like I'm like I had nothing before. I met like what was it, Bill and
Frank,
and then he's like, it's
you always forget his name.
I always forget everyone's name when I'm trying, but except only when I'm on the show do I forget like all the names for fucking
You're
everyone.
focused.
But like obviously Frank's passing away, and then like he.
So
wants
you're
him
saying
to,
how does the letter
no,
affect?
because remember what he said in that letter is like, I never particularly liked you, but you can understand this or whatever. It's
Right.
it's like I found like my job was to protect him or whatever, and I did.
Well,
And
when he hears the letter
I
the
forget
first
exactly what that
when
letter-
he hears the letter the first time, you can see that it has effect on him then.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just everything, of course, through the course of the episodes, and obviously she saved his life too. So
Yeah, of course,
there's a
that as
lot
well.
of things
He
in
owes her
there.
that as
Yeah,
well,
like there's a lot of things. So that when we get to that last thing, in his mind, he's justifying
that's
the lie.
why men like you and me are here.
Yes.
Like it's like in that.
It's such a great letter.
Yeah, like in that letter, like think about how that ties in so well to like the rest of the story, or like when the older guy, when the what's it called, the black kid, when his younger brother dies and he takes his life because what is there like at that point, and like what he has to do to
Right.
his older brother.
No,
like,
no. I mean,
so it's
that's
like all
why-
these moments build up to and like.
We always joke about
And have him such an impactful.
We
like,
always joke about the
connection to
writer
finale.
rooms. We talk about
Like,
the writer rooms a lot, and
it's
you
so
and I,
intricate.
you're writing, you're trying to write your own thing, and
trying, yeah.
well, you know,
I'm
it's a
trying.
long process, and you're developing something. And we've made this joke about like there's that big dry erase board, or with the pins
gonna
and the
need
strings
that
and the
at some
ropes, and when you watch these things, and it's like. I do feel like if we could find the writer's room for Last of Us, we would see like that kind of, I don't think it's a literal, but
People that appreciate,
understanding that, okay, we've watched this game, we've played this game, now we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about it. And we're going to like, okay, so in this episode, we're going to have these characters. How are we going to present this? And how do we keep having these little threads and strings and that connect
thought
to
all the
everything
changes were
through
so
the course
smart
of
and,
the,
like-
everything that happens in this show, I feel, has a connection to other things that happen on a
line's
grand
important, yes.
scale. Like when you
It's
watch
like early
a show,
season Game of Thrones. We're not.
Right.
There's no throwaway lines. It's where everything
right.
connects to something else or has an influence.
and one of the things I've been learning about writing, just like writing emails, like writing for anything, is that like make sure that what you're writing, the words matter and they have a purpose. Everything you write should have a purpose. And I think that like the killings, the things that we see on screen, when she's got to come in and kill the one guy when the car breaks down the first time they're in the city, like that, all that stuff.
being selective with that.
Yes.
It was such a smart.
I didn't
decision
need
narratively.
There aren't just random, and people are like,
There's
there's not
more-
enough. Let me finish. There's not enough scenes where they're killing the infected. We don't need
That's not the
Walking
story.
Dead.
That's not what Last of Us
I
is
don't
about.
need Walking Dead gratuitous. Oh my God, that's a barn full. We need to fill 5 minutes in this episode, so let's find a garage. Then someone accidentally opens up the
and,
door,
like, those aren't
and oh
film-
my God,
and those aren't film
Oh!
fans. Those aren't like really like TV show or like film fans. Really, those are guys that are, like were fans of the game that are now trying to watch the show. Which is like if you were a fan of the game, like you should just really be appreciative that they didn't fuck up your story. Like they probably did it justice and like improved it and made it more palatable
think about
to
it-
like audiences. Because again, like there are certain things where like just because it's a video game and your like brain is conditioned as a video game player to accept for the story. So like again, like killing 300 people and then you go into the cutscene, you kind of just forget about the fact that you killed 300 people.
if
So it
I
still
don't
impacts,
if I don't like the way the show is done,
yeah,
and I don't feel there's enough killing, I can go and turn on my PS4
Walking
or
Dead.
whatever,
Yeah, or go play the game.
and just go play the game again.
because now you have two
know?
really, really good versions of the same story, like essentially.
Right.
Like the story is yes, they changed some things, but like the main story beats from the game. Like are almost all there, and most of them are word for word. Most of like the really big like moments where like Joel and Ellie develop as like or have like a heart to heart, or like or like really really intense moments that like brought tears to so many people's eyes every episode.
But here's what
how many times did like
Yeah.
waterworks like happen for like from all the like I watched like a lot of reactions to the show as well because I wanted to see like all these
Right.
new people react to like this story that I love so much, and like the amount of people that like for multiple episodes, like episode 1, people were crying for the show. Episode 2, episode 3, like every episode, they had some new shit
Right.
for you to cry
Sure.
at or like be really upset
And here's
about.
the
Like,
thing
you
when it comes
connected
right down
everyone.
to it. Here's the thing when it comes right down to it. If you are unhappy
Yeah, and I
with
think
the
it's
way,
very, very, very minimal amount of people.
if there's
for this.
people out there that really don't like it, and they're big fans of the game, well, there's one guy that gets to tell the story he wants to tell. And that guy's name is Neil Druckmann, because you know what? It's his project. He's not some guy that was
thank
brought
God
in
they
as
got
a
him.
consultant. He was there. He is the writer of the show. So he, in his own interview, said there were things that I did in the game that I purposely wanted to tell story differently because I'm not writing a video game. I'm writing a show
Yes, he's a smart
that
guy.
everybody's going to watch, not just video game people. He doesn't want this thing to appeal just to the video game
And
crowd.
I'm glad Craig Mason found found this story and realized realized they needed to tell it, and then he needed to tell it with Neil. Like that was
I
like,
respect that an awful lot.
I respect that a lot. They
Okay.
respect the actors for the games as well. I appreciate that. And also like just the people involved just all seem so lovely. Like weirdly, I know that's like there's celebrities.
there's
or
a lot
whatever,
of- no,
but, like
not-
Pedro
yeah.
Pascal and Bella Ramsey
Pedro
both seem like such
Pascal,
lovely like people.
like-
And like even like I loved every like after episode like insight thing they did.
Yep.
Like they were all so good and insightful. Like with Neil and with like they were all really good. Like Game of Thrones always has good ones for that as well. But those ones I thought were like even like better and like the way and just the way the creators talked about their work like felt so like genuine and like the understanding was like so thorough. So and also real quick commiserations for this was the game was made by a studio called Naughty Dog, and this isn't actually the first thing that Naughty Dog have tried to adapt to film or to screen. Do you remember Uncharted?
Right.
We never watched it because I would refuse to.
Yeah.
But commiserations if you're an Uncharted fan, because you got a fucking like Universal or I don't even know what they put that on actually. But you got Tom Holland as like a character he looked nothing like, and Mark Wahlberg and like a 2-hour movie for your game.
Right.
Which again is like a Indiana Jones level action adventure like
Which they could have done a
mystery,
lot better.
like archaeologist-y
All right, let's
treasure
move
hunter
on.
story.
Let's move
so
on.
commiserations to them because the other guys because the other show got an HBO show.
Right.
Like so
right.
I would hate to be one of their fans.
All right, we're moving on.
All right, we gotta talk about Star Wars.
Well,
now.
before we do that, I want to do a shout out to the Oscars for
yeah, do the Oscars, yeah.
for everything. Excuse me, I said it wrong. I keep saying it wrong. Everything, everywhere, all at once. Movie that you turned me on to, and I always love to give you credit for things that I probably wouldn't have watched if you wouldn't have discovered it. So you found it, we watched it, and then all of a sudden everybody else seemed to watch it.
Yeah, we
and,
were
and then
early to the
we
train.
were very early.
No, we weren't there weren't people that saw it before me. Don't get me wrong.
Oh,
There
no,
was
I'm
a
not saying
decent
you're the
amount of
first guy
people
to
that
watch
found
it,
before
but
me.
you definitely turned
we
me
were
on
in
to it.
In the grand scheme of things, like we saw it like early summer,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. So
Yeah, when at first I think it just come out, and I have to
then
say
you
that
rewatched
we
it, yeah.
both liked it very early on, and
Zach loves
I
it,
watched
too,
it
which is
twice.
like-
Zach
which
watched
says
it.
a
And he doesn't
lot,
like
so.
anything, and like those types of stories. He really enjoyed it. And congratulations on all the
3 Oscars,
on 7 Oscars.
well, 7 Oscars,
7
yeah, 3 for
Oscars,
actors,
3 for actors, director, best film. And it's funny because
the Daniels.
yeah. Well, Ki Hu Kwan,
who
like
wrote and directed that shit. Like, that's wild.
well, Ki Hu Kwan,
I love that
obviously
guy.
he's such a feel good story this year.
We'll see him soon.
Obviously, yeah, because he's going to be in Loki.
we're gonna
Zach
see
and
a
I were
lot of other
joking.
shit, too.
We want
Don't get me
a cameo in the Indiana Jones. Go back and refilm a cameo
Yeah,
of
do a
Short
minute
Round
long
back in the
cameo,
Indiana
yeah.
Jones. But even like at the end of the Oscars when he was up on stage and Harrison Ford presented the Oscar for Best Picture, who ironically does not have an Oscar, Harrison Ford.
Yeah. Well, that's not the type of roles he's always.
Yeah, but he was
done, so.
nominated once. They're gonna have to give him a Lifetime Achievement Award soon because he's really
No, I agree. Yeah.
been iconic,
Maybe he'll
and he's
win
an
one for
iconic
Red
actor.
Hulk.
But anyway, not Red Hulk. Oh, jeez, God, I just threw up in my mouth. All right,
That's the
But I
only
mean,
movie
like he
know
goes
he's
up
doing.
on stage and Harrison Ford and him just hugged, and it was just such a
Yeah,
genuine
pure.
moment.
It was
Like,
nice.
I mean, the Oscars are usually terrible, and I actually enjoyed this Oscar
And it
because
got a little bit
it
more
was a lot of
viewership than
fun.
usual. I mean, not good historically. It's
No,
still
I
very
mean,
historically
well, 'cause
low.
nobody
But
really
it's
likes-
been better than the last 3 or 4 years, I think.
Yeah,
So
I think something like
nobody
that.
got punched, I guess.
No,
That's
that
good.
was good. People were looking for the punching. I mean, and the other one that won a lot, obviously,
All Quiet on the
Brendan
Western Front
Fraser
won
won
a lot,
for The
too.
Whale, which I have not seen.
All
But
Quiet on the Western Front, when it
All
came
Quiet-
up, it won.
No, you didn't
essentially.
watch it quite in the Western Front, did you?
No, but I'm going to.
I watched it.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to watch both, actually.
So here's the
'Cause I
funny
know
thing
it's
about
an
All Quiet
adaptation
on
of
the
an old
Western
one.
Front, because obviously it's an international film, so it's in
I'm fine with
it's
that.
in
I love that
German.
shit. I did a whole class on that.
What I
did
really
not
what I
realize.
really liked about it is, and what I'll say is, you should go watch it. Anybody should watch this movie because, first of all, if you liked 1917, I think it's as good as 1917. I probably, I don't know if I like which one I like better. I like them both.
You just maybe reminded me. I got to show you some international films
Okay,
that
we'll
I
get.
watched
Well, not right
in,
now. We can't talk about that.
yeah.
But good idea. But I do. I think it was really well done. I think the actors are incredible. Zemo.
yeah.
Zemo plays the guy that's negotiating on the train, the end of the war.
look up his name.
There's a lot of great historical aspects of the movie that are incorporated quite well because I
Daniel
googled a
Bruhl.
lot of it.
Daniel
Yeah,
Bruhl.
there's a lot of everybody was good in this movie.
Daniel Bruhl's really good.
Visually, it's incredible. The guy's journey is obviously
Brutal film, right?
it's very
I know
brutal.
I know a ball about the original. Obviously,
It's definitely more brutal than it's
original's
definitely more
brutal as
brutal
hell,
than
too.
1917.
Oh yeah.
But they're both very.
We're
It's
starting to get
funny because
we're starting to get some good war movies again.
Yeah, like-
1917, this Dunkirk, like in the last couple of years, like it's starting to ramp up again. We're starting.
well,
to
and
get
they're being done really well.
I think
I mean,
Oppenheimer might have a little bit of that in it too. We'll
yeah.
see. So
you know-
Oppenheimer's gonna be fucking good.
I really so I shout out to that and
Yeah.
I thought Michelle Yeoh,
Michelle
she
Yeoh
won.
deserved it.
They all
love
gave
her performance. In
Yeah,
that movie.
they gave
like,
great
genuinely.
speeches.
Jamie Lee Curtis, I think, was pretty good, but like
I'm not a big
I
Jamie
liked-
Lee Curtis
No,
fan.
I know, but like
I think there were other actresses that were.
I would have rather gone to Angela Bassett. I know it was a Marvel movie, but still, I thought she was.
I mean,
pretty good.
and in Jennifer,
But to be fair, I thought the girl, the daughter in the movie, Chu, I think Jennifer Chu, I think is the I think I got that, or Stephanie Chu, right?
Stephanie Hugh.
Stephanie Chu.
Yeah.
Like I actually loved her performance. I think she should have won.
Jamie
but
Lee
either
Curtis.
way, it's fine. It was
Here's
probably
my
more of an
feeling.
establishment,
Here's my
like-
feeling on why Jamie Lee Curtis is like kind of the last of Hollywood royalty. Like both
her parents.
Both
yeah.
her parents are like incredibly famous actors and
She's not
actresses.
that bad of a nepotism baby, to be
she's
fair. There's much worse nepotism
she's done a lot of
babies.
terrible movies over the years, but she was very good in this movie. We don't like her. I don't like her
I mean,
as an
I don't
actress.
care. I don't
She
care.
doesn't bother me. I'm not that upset that she won.
Grandma doesn't like her.
My mother cannot stand Jamie Lee Curtis because of a stint that she
of,
had
like,
on
on
NCIS.
like 12
and
years ago.
And my mother, oh my God, it was. I hope Mom's not watching the podcast
She's never
because
done that.
she's never watching this podcast because she knows
She
you
wouldn't
swear.
understand a word.
And but shout out to the Oscars because it was a more
Shout out
enjoyable
to the
Oscar.
Oscars,
No, it was.
yeah.
I feel like, and I don't care.
No, I got you.
I'm not one of those people that care if they get political. Go ahead. It's your moment.
Talk
You've worked-
Mando real quick.
Yeah,
We gotta
let's
talk
get to
about
Mando. It's only we're right
We
at
wanna
an
talk about
hour.
Last episode.
Bad Batch.
No, we're not talking about Bad Batch.
Bad Batch is good. Watch Bad Batch. I'm enjoying Bad Batch.
Yeah, last 3 episodes have been really good.
Mando's
for Bad
been great, although I'm a little upset about this
Batch.
third
We're gonna
episode.
argue about this real quick.
But let's go talk about
No,
Mando.
okay,
Your impressions on Mando so far.
Okay, so first episode, fine, fun, great return. Kind of an update though. It was just like if you didn't watch Book of Boba Fett, like,
yeah,
and also like I think they're going back to their next episode because what's his name? Guy who plays Grief Karga, fucking Apollo Creed.
Yeah.
He's directs the next episode, and the next episode's written by Favreau and Filoni, because Filoni's only done 2 episodes this season, and this is the first of them.
Okay.
So usually that means some Star Warsy shit happens. Some really some on the nose, like fan servicey, like moments that everyone knows and loves. Like the classic Mando moments could happen. And I think people, and I will give you didn't like this movie because, or not, you didn't like this episode, or not that you didn't like it, but you thought that the middle part, which was obviously like kind
Well,
of.
let me give you my opinion.
tangent.
Let me give you if you're saying what I'm saying.
Yeah, you go real quick.
Let me say what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I do not. Okay. So in episode 3 or chapter 19, the convert, it starts off great. We see them go to the planet. We see that, and let me back up. The first part of the episode is amazing. It's incredibly well done. The ship, the battle scene's incredible.
It's the best.
The
space
way
opera
she
got,
skips
like, in
her
years.
ship off the water to do cool things. Her anger because they destroy her home. Everything in the episode up to that point's great. Then we go to Coruscant, and we see the doctor and the woman who's clearly in some kind of undercover role, who have supposedly gone through whatever. I completely get everything that they're trying to do in that part of the episode. They're trying to say that the Empire was bad and that the New Republic's not significantly better. They're kind of dumb. I mean, they're like it's.
Which is the thing that even
Let me
Lucas
finish. Let me
always
finish.
wanted those two
I have
characters to be
no problem with anything they did with those two characters. I only thing I don't like is it took too long.
I agree with that.
It was the longest episode of the season so far,
yeah.
and I was excited to watch this hour. But then I think over half of it, and I'm not doing the
think
math.
So. You're definitely right. Yeah.
Over half of it was about these two characters. And here's my problem. I don't know enough about these characters, so I feel like they tried to do everything with these characters in one episode. I would have been much happier if they needed 40 minutes to do it, to put 20 into this episode and put another 20 into the next episode. There's too much. Yes, we get it. We know what you're going to do.
Because again, this episode in the middle part especially was very Andor-esque, which I
Sure,
appreciate.
I would
that
agree with
Mando
that.
realized
Yes.
that our fans are gonna want a bit more of this. Because I think that's smart. Like, I will say for this to be, I'll say because again, I like a lot of what they put in there. Although I will say it lasted a while. Although I don't know what scenes I would take out. Because I think it was Andor-esque storytelling. I don't think it was as good as a lot of what Andor did.
I would agree with that.
But I think it was trying to do that. And I don't think it was
And I think
far
that's a
off.
really good observation. I just felt it took too long.
Yeah.
But all the stuff that we saw. Okay, let me go back. Let me pick up your bit from Andor. So you're talking about, but they didn't try to do everything with the guy that has to go back to his house with his mom. And then his obsession with what's her face, the Nazi woman, and it wasn't all in one episode.
Yeah. No,
it was
that's what I'm
spread out.
saying.
You'd get 10 minutes in this episode. You get 10 minutes in this episode.
No, but I can say it in a bit
yeah.
But again, they didn't, because Andor's not exactly nothing overly exciting is constantly happening in Andor and most of the time.
Right.
But you balance that because you're bouncing between four different, well, not four, but you're bouncing between Andor and then Gideon and then Mon Mothma. So you have a balance of these multiple stories that are happening.
Right.
So or not Gideon, whatever.
Space Gus.
Not Space Gus. I'm talking about Andor. What's his name? I'm totally blanking on what's his name.
Yeah, I know. Whatever. It doesn't really matter.
Guy with the cool shit.
But
no. For this though, I understand that it was just too. It definitely dragged. I don't know. It was just weird that. Oh, I think here's a good example of. Do you remember when the Clone Wars came back for the final season?
Yeah.
This is a weird place I'm going. The last 4 episodes were obviously fucking glorious, greatest, probably might even be my favorite thing in Star Wars, genuinely. But
sure,
there was 8 episodes before then. There's the first 4 Bad Batch episodes, which are just they're good, but they're not I think you've seen those episodes, right?
Yeah, I've watched
they're not
season.
particular. They're not the best episodes of Clone Wars. There are better episodes than that. And then I don't know if you've watched the 4 episodes in the middle which were entirely brand new. Weirdly, the Bad Batch arc was an old arc from years ago that they just finished.
Right.
This arc was new and was 4 episodes. And again, we only had 12 episodes in all of this last season of Clone Wars, and the first 4 were a finished animation So, like, something that a lot of diehards had already seen in a half-finished state because Filoni posted them so people could watch them. Like, the ones that were done at voice acting. So, I'd seen that arc. Like,
But most of us hadn't.
Most of us hadn't, but still. So, I'd seen that arc. Then the second one we got was not a bad arc. There's a lot of people that hate, like, the Martez sisters, like, these two characters. They were in Bad Batch.
Right, keep going,
like,
keep going.
There's a lot of people that hate them, and the problem was, the thing wasn't bad, but considering this was the final bit of Clone Wars that we ever were going to get, and we had this 4-episode arc with Ahsoka dicking around with these couple characters, I think that's kind of akin to what you're feeling here, which is like, oh, like, why would you, like why we had only so much time for this, and you chose to devote a third of it to a storyline that could have been something better. Which I think that is your thing here, which is like the longest thing that you've had so far has been like not for your main characters, and you had this really long, drawn out episode.
Right.
And maybe it's going
so
to
let me
and I'm gonna say,
let me respond.
This could build into something much bigger.
I'm sure it's going to build into something, but everybody who watched who produced the show knows the complaints about Boba Fett.
Yeah.
There's not anybody in that production team that doesn't know why we were mad about Boba Fett. And I didn't have a lot of complaints about Boba Fett, but the average person, people that were mad about how they felt that Obi-Wan dragged, and I don't agree with that necessarily, but that's fine. You could have that opinion. But then all of a sudden you have a 35-minute episode, then a 42-minute episode, and then a 56-minute episode.
It's mostly not your main
And it's mostly not Mandalorian, which is like, that's a problem.
And I think it's a weird couple. And I like Pershing a lot.
So just
Pershing's
again,
character I like, but her I don't even. And I think she's like doesn't do anything bad. And I think both her performances are actually pretty good. I just don't have anything.
Here's a scene you can cut.
Go off of.
Here's a scene you can cut. I don't need the scene at the Rock.
So you see, that's what I'm saying. A lot of what they were
The Rock is cool,
here's another thing
but I don't need the scene.
Here's one of why the scene gets drawn out a little bit because. I love the Rock scene, but again, it's only cool for me,
right?
Like, or like Clone Wars nostalgia reasons.
Okay.
So I think a lot of like what they were showing was almost like they were hoping that people were going to be a little bit more distracted. And I think, and to be fair,
here's a minute you could cut
real quick. All the Coruscant stuff, like the nods to old Coruscant, even like the visuals of kind of that
and I love that. And I wouldn't take out any of those visuals because the visuals are great. I'll take
it's a glorious return to Coruscant.
The Rock.
Like,
they could have said, "This is the Rock."
Yeah.
And we didn't need the stupid robot that yelled him. I didn't need the stupid cab driver robot.
Yeah, that was a little.
Oh, have you seen this? They could have literally had the cab take them from the show to the thing.
Want to know what I love? The one scene I fucking love actually in this is when he gets out of he's at the opera thing, which is like from Revenge of the Sith. But that was cool.
And all the people are talking to him.
And then when the senator people or whatever, the rich.
Yeah, that was fine.
No, I don't even think they're senators. I think they're just like rich people.
They're just random people.
No,
rich
rich people. But the way they're talking to them, where they barely have like they barely have any like notion of like the governments have changed,
right?
Because like these were the people that like Palpatine still needed industry and all this stuff. So Palpatine like would just like buttered up all the rich people and like they've been left here.
But I didn't need all of those things. Yeah. You don't need you pick half of those.
But
you can get there a lot quicker.
But think of cloning because again, cloning is very
Okay, so
let me finish because this is the point. Like cloning is controversial within the Star Wars like universe.
Sure.
And it's like
you could have left all of that.
Let me finish.
You could have left all of that.
Let me finish. It's like eugenics. Like for like to start in a lot of ways to Star Wars within Star Wars. So think about it. Those rich people who are apparently like New Republic elites were just like, you're so brave, guy we think is a eugenist. They're just patting him on the back. Like all the really rich people. They don't give a fuck. They're like the first people.
All right, then I have another one that I don't need. And this one you have no argument for.
Which one?
The train.
I liked the visual thing, but like this, I don't know why they needed to see them jump between 4 cars.
We didn't need to see them jump between 4 cars, which is clearly the same train 4 times. And we don't need them being pursued by robots that don't get them. So they literally could have just taken a train or a cab and gotten out and been at the site. Yeah, and that's 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Right there, you didn't need.
It's just a weird one.
It's
a weird one.
If that's not fake manufactured tension, There wasn't anything on that train scene with the big stupid monster that I don't know. Everybody what is the guy on the train that we didn't know, some alien, huge alien looking thing. Like I didn't none of that.
Days, am I right?
I don't even know what that was supposed to reference.
Although weirdly they said Happy Bendu Day, which Bendu is that character that Tom Baker plays.
Okay.
So apparently the rebels like made a day out of like
I don't need that. So all right.
I don't know why they mentioned that. But
Again, I don't want. Let me back up.
Too much of the episode relies on deeper cut references for the
and
audience.
I don't
want to
like start bashing.
I
don't want to start bashing Mando. I love Mando. I think it's still the best thing.
Well, which I don't think was as good.
I just think that somebody should have said, "Why is this one so long?" and then shortened it. There's always edits. I'm an editor. I've been editing video for 30 years, and I can tell you there's always a way to make something better and tighter to shorten it up. I've done it with projects that were an hour, and I had to find a way to make them 45 minutes. I took a movie that I did that was an hour and 10 minutes, and I got it down to 52 minutes.
I'm not
and I think it was better because I took out the 12 minutes.
I'm not averse to the Mandalorian potentially going and following other characters.
I don't care about that. I'm not complaining about other characters.
But I will say it was a very interesting choice. And again, I know they canceled that Rangers of the New Republic show or whatever. And I think a lot of the ideas from that show are now going to be spread into Ahsoka, this show, and Skeleton Crew.
Sure.
So I think this was almost we have to do one big dump here.
Sure.
Of intel on the stick, because again, I like that they gave the Imperials numbers, which is dehumanizing. I don't know why they're stupid enough to literally house them all in the same program. Their theme
because again, it's making a nice political commentary that that the Republic's not significantly better than the Empire, and in terms of their poor management
Republic is
style.
supposed to struggle,
and a lot of people just jumped. Mm-hmm. A lot of people just jumped from one job to the other, right? And that's supposed to be. Yeah. I think that's supposed to be an analogy to what happened after World War II and what happened after World War I. I think we're supposed to see a lot of that concept, that the same people that were working there, that were working for the Nazis, were now working for the democracy. It was not everybody lost their jobs. What else you have? I think
that's all I really got.
The last
thing. The finale is interesting of the third episode where Bo I don't think anyone saw that.
Let's go to that. That's a great finale.
Also, I fucking love Grogu.
Grogu
that fucking puppet.
Every episode, Grogu starts to give that almost like he's going to say something.
I think he basically tried to say this is the way in the last episode.
Anything? Do you feel like there was anything? We feel like that Bo is.
I don't think Bo's going to be an antagonist.
I don't think she is. I think she's becoming more and more.
I like the vibe that her and Mando have together. Yeah. So because it's the verse. It's a lot of. Mando hasn't had overwhelming amount of camaraderie with that many characters, I guess.
I'm assuming Mandalorians reproduce, correct?
Yes, they reproduce.
Well, how do they do with their?
They've done a little bit. It's been slightly flirty, not overly, but I don't know. I don't know if it's
gonna be a date. I'm not
saying that.
I love you, man. Mando. I do feel like she is. I do like the concept that she's moving more towards the old ways. And here's why: because she saw that stupid alien thing.
Yeah, why didn't she take her helmet off? Weirdly, because think about it, she saw the mythosaur and didn't take her helmet off for all that time afterwards. At any point, she's pretty usually takes her helmet off.
And that thing is supposed to be in her mind didn't exist.
No, that's like her seeing a unicorn, or us seeing a unicorn in real life, or a dinosaur, we'll go walking. Down the street.
It's worse than that. It's like you believing in a religion where the unicorn, not believing in a religion because you don't believe that unicorns exist, and then all of a sudden you see the unicorn, you're like, oh shit, my religion might be gaming, wrong. I could have been wrong all along. Yeah, exactly. And there is that aspect of religion sometimes where people find their faith in strange ways, and obviously this is a very strange way. And she asked him if he saw it, and he didn't see it, obviously, and she doesn't. And I don't know why she's keeping it a secret, because maybe she's not. Doesn't want to believe I don't we're going to see more about that, but it's definitely a neat thing. And I think you're right. I think because the episode was called The Convert. And I think that might be a kind of him, the doctor, as well as her kind of maybe almost thinking the old ways maybe were were better, and obviously we're going to see
or
some
like
really
that you
cool
can
stuff.
incorporate part of it, because like maybe there is something to like if you're gonna unite all Mandalorians, it's not like just we can't just ignore Death Watch or whatever the hell, or the Children of the Watch, like that they are Mandalorians. They think a little bit differently from you,
And
but,
more importantly, if there's a part of her that's in her brain that's like,
she's
if
back,
I
too. She was
want
part of these
to,
guys before.
if I want to get my people organized, I need everybody.
Yeah, she
so
needs,
maybe
like,
I need to wear my helmet now, just because for these people, because this is the only way I'm gonna get these people to help me.
Yeah.
So they could
And
be.
they're-
I
and they're
don't say
trying to go
she's.
back to Mandalore now.
Yeah.
Like it's breathable.
Well, yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of fucking ties in the sector, but but yeah.
I thought that was. I thought from a technical
Yeah, I'm
standpoint.
happy that she's getting as much screen time as she's getting, because
She's
she's
very
certainly she's
good.
the second most billed actor than the
Well,
actress
and
this
she's
season,
got a huge
so-
following.
So I
She was
think
on-
she's
She was
gonna be in a
Best
lot of
Galactica.
shit,
She was
so.
a Longmire. She's obviously a voice actress. Like people really
Yeah,
like
she
her.
might be in every episode, like genuinely.
I think we're going to see her for them. I think she's. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't looked it up. So.
Which is
I've
wild that, like,
you've had me rewatching.
Yeah,
you have
it's
me
wild
watching
that-
Rebels.
But even wilder though, like this is because even before Ahsoka, Bo-Katan's beat Ahsoka to this. Bo-Katan
Right.
is now the first regular live action like character that initially appeared in like cartoon.
Right.
So like a character that's like unironically just there and existing in live action now, when they're like predominantly existed
Right.
like as a cartoon character for like
Yes.
10 years.
Yes,
and that's
she has
cool
the
to
most
me. Like
appearances,
they're like, oh
yes.
shit, like that person's there. Like,
Well, obviously, Ahsoka's going to.
like she's a regular. Ahsoka's gonna and a lot of characters from Ahsoka are gonna be like literally like I think most of the main cast is cartoon characters.
Well, you got me
Like-
tuned on to Rebels, so I'm still in what beginning?
Weirdly,
I'm
we've
in the
been
beginning of
rewatching
season
Rebels.
2.
We're
in the season
middle
2
of
now.
Season 2, yeah.
We're in the middle of season 2. You
Really, I don't remember liking the earlier stuff nearly as much as I did. They're not all great.
it's a little kiddie.
It's more titty than Clone Wars.
Yeah,
certainly.
definitely. And every time they do anything, it's like da 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 da.
Yeah, the music's a bit like it's very
and it's
heavy
literally
on the
like
original
it's
series
like I
music.
feel like it's just they literally like did a whatever you call it,
It gets
like
a little bit more
like a
unique
sample,
later on.
a sample from from the CD from episode 4.
They lay off it a little
you
bit
know,
as it gets
I hope
later
so because
in,
every time
so.
like and some of them, you know
No,
what?
'cause certain characters like Thrawn
You know
gets
ones
his
that
own
piss
theme,
me off?
and Ahsoka
You know what
gets
pisses
their
me off
theme
is
and
when
stuff,
they
so.
use the Luke Skywalker theme with Ezra or whatever his name is.
It's like they use it as like a Jedi.
Like that,
theme or
I know,
whatever,
no, but
like-
that's the Luke Skywalker
I
theme.
know, but
Like when
still.
he's on Tatooine, that's his theme.
They
When
don't
he's
use it
looking
that
at the
much.
freaking moons, when he's looking at the fucking sons of Tatooine, that's the Luke Skywalker theme.
I know.
That's what the days. What'd you call it? What kind of bullshit did you call it? The Skywalker, the Jedi what?
No, I said they were using it as a Jedi theme.
It's not a
essentially,
Jedi
like-
theme. Screw you,
like,
sound
or
engineer.
or whatever they were trying to use. I don't know. Like it's still better than when like fucking like BB-8 like shoots coins and they play like the da-da-da-da-da-da-da, like in the fucking like that's a moment they do and in fucking I love how I always managed to bring it back to like The Last Jedi. Like they literally play the fucking like the heroic like riff. Like when like BB-8 like fucking shoots coins at like security guards. I'm like these motherfuckers don't understand even the music of Star Wars. And like
I think we need. I think we need a scene where R2D fucks up BB-8. That's
we
what I
need
need.
R2D with like R2D2 and Chopper slap out.
Oh,
like
I do like that one scene in
how
Rebels
do you like
where
Chopper?
I do.
No, tell me how much you like Chopper. Come on.
I love Chopper.
Chopper's
Chopper's great. He's like the opposite of R2.
Who do you like of the characters? I guess.
There's not a.
Like
I
who do
don't-
you like you're particularly fond of? I guess besides Chopper, because
Well,
Chopper's like is
Chopper's
just unique.
great.
Like
I don't like kids in shows.
Yeah.
But
Ezra's
as
a bit-
far as kids go, Ezra's fine.
yeah.
His
He could be worse.
relationship with
Kanan.
Kanan.
The Jedi.
Jedi.
Yeah, Kanan, I think is.
I
particularly
like
good.
him a lot. He's kind of got a Qui-Gon kind of, slash
Well, he
Obi-Wan.
kind of abandoned the Jedi way for
I
a
like him.
while.
I like him a lot. I just don't quite understand the pilot, the girl,
Hera?
the Twi'leks or whatever
what
she
about
is.
her?
She's with him.
Kind of.
I just don't feel like give her enough to do.
They dance around it.
I don't feel like they give her enough to do.
They
Go fly the ship.
Well, to be fair, the first season
She tries to like counsel him a lot, like tell me you should do this, but it's not
they
enough.
have her bounce off Kanan a lot, and she's very mother.
Yeah.
Oh, to be fair, that changes heavily. You're just not there yet.
I'm not there. Okay,
You're
fine.
just not there.
Well,
'Cause
that's fine.
Again, she's the most gung ho. Because again, you've watched the first 5 episodes or something.
I think I'm halfway through season
I don't
2.
know. We'll watch later or something. But Hera is the most gung ho rebel wise, and if you even remember, but Hera's mentioned in she's the character that is mentioned in
Her name
Rogue
is Hera?
One. Yeah, and she's mentioned by the time of Rogue One, she on the announcer, she's General Hera.
Yes.
So she's very high up by that point.
I don't.
So
I
like
don't,
she, so
I
you're
don't
gonna see a lot of that.
I don't dislike the character. I just feel like I need more of this character.
Yeah, I will say early season wise, they give weirdly.
The Mandalorian girl is pretty good.
She doesn't get a lot to do early season.
She doesn't get enough to do
Her
either.
and Hera, I will agree. Early, like first season, and even the kind of Sabine particularly doesn't get a lot to do until season 3 and 4.
But
when
she's
she gets
coming
a lot
back.
to do.
We're getting Sabine back.
Because Sabine gets a lot to do in seasons 3 and 4. And Sabine and Ezra develop a very nice like duo in like by the end of seasons like 3 and 4.
And the giant cat lemur guy, what's his name? Zeb.
Zeb gets a nice bit of development every once
fine.
in a while.
I mean,
because he's the comedic relief.
Zeb's the comedic
he's
relief,
also
and
the
he's
survivor of like a genocided planet.
Well,
so.
that's the funny thing about it, because they have this. He's the funny guy, but he's also the survivor of the genocidal of the planet that got genocide. It's like, well, that's an interesting
like
choice.
The imperial genocided planet, yeah.
That's a good choice.
I don't know, man.
That's an interesting one.
Well, I like him.
And Wrecker's just a rip-off of him. I feel like Wrecker's a bit of a rip-off.
No, he's not nearly as
he
dumb
kind
as
of
Wrecker.
is. Like, I don't know.
He's not
like,
nearly as dumb
it's
as
not
Wrecker.
exactly like they're neither
He's
one
their
of these
Chewbacca.
are. Neither one of
he's
these
their
are.
Chewbacca. I guess Wrecker's just their Chewbacca too. Like
Wrecker's
kind
just,
of.
I'm hungry. I don't want. No, because Chewie's sometimes like chicken shed.
Well, he's like the muscle, or whatever. He's like the you know. What I
Back
mean.
to Chopper.
What
I
about-
really liked the interaction with Chopper and R2-D2. I thought that was really good.
Chopper has good interaction with every character, which is the best part. Like everyone, because he's mean to most of them except for Hera.
So when Chopper like picked up guns in the one episode, and he just started like he took the third wheel out of his stomach or whatever it's called, the can part,
which I don't even know how
and
he
he
did that,
started
'cause, like-
driving on the wheel, and he's just firing guns.
Yeah, 'cause he has arms for
It's
some reason.
hilarious. He has arms, which is great. Actually, why wouldn't they have arms? But more because robots can have arms.
Like R2-D2 has like the one in the
that
front.
stupid little
R2-D2 has the
thing,
one little one in the
you know,
front,
like,
but
that's
Chopper has
it.
like two like
He
posable
can
ones
grab
that like
stuff.
stick out
He
of
can
his
throw
head.
the lightsaber, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like the lightsaber.
Yeah, Chopper also.
No, his lightsaber.
Also, I don't know if
Ezra's
you've seen
lightsaber is
Chopper
kind of cool.
fly yet. I think you probably have, but when
Yes, we saw him fly.
When
yeah, we seen
R2
him fly.
flies, he just has like two little ones in his like fucking like legs that like kind of pull him around. When Chopper flies, he just has a big ass fucking rocket on the bottom of him that fucking just takes him, and he becomes a torpedo. Like that's literally what he does. Like it's shit so dumb.
Chopper's just kind of like kind of the scaredy version of R2.
No,
Where
R2's
R2's just
chaotic.
like, I'm going in, I'm just
R2
fucking
is
up people
chaotic
up.
Good, because R2 is chaotic in a way. And Chopper is chaotic neutral, like, because he's not exactly good.
R2. Wait, I'm gonna fight you on that a little bit. In the movies, R2's a little comedic at times, a little disarray. But in Clone Wars, he's just like dead. Clone Wars. He's a lot like. He's really episode 3 R2.
No, that's what I'm saying. Episode 3 R2 is very chaotic. It's like chaotic R2. Because remember the beginning? Like R2 is literally like he's like fighting droids. Which I love.
Yeah, but it's not. There's nothing chaotic about where he takes out those two.
Dude, he literally
droids.
sets them on fire with
Yeah,
oil.
but that's not chaotic.
What do you mean?
That's stone cold.
No, that's chaotic.
No,
bro.
he just
could
fucks them
shock
up.
He could shock them. He could do that. That would literally work.
No, he fucking kills them. He burns them alive.
That's chaotic, yes.
Chaotic.
then
I was interpreting your use of the word chaotic as he was like kind of haphazard.
Oh, no,
like,
I'm not saying
like
that.
Indiana Jones is
No,
chaotic.
I'm saying chaotic good. Chaotic good.
Oh,
There's
no,
I
just meant
spectrum of chaotic.
He
There's
just
chaotic,
he just
there's
stone
chaotic
cold killer.
bad, there's chaotic good and there's chaotic
He's just
neutral.
stone cold killer. Like, I'm gonna spray you with oil and I'm gonna use my rockets and burn you to shred.
No, but then like even
because you
later,
called
he
me
gets
little
mauled
dude
by,
or something
R2
like that.
because they get shot in the ray, they get caught in the ray shield, and he like wah! He just like runs into the room and crashes into the wall.
Is there a better sound? Is there a better sound in the Star Wars
R2-D2,
universe
bro.
than R2-D2 scream?
Probably, but no, the bomb blowing up from Jango Fett's ship, like from Slave One. I know they don't want us to call it that anymore, but I'm still going to.
That sonar thing.
Yeah, that thing.
I think there's not a better sound in the
ion
Star Wars
the ion,
universe
whatever they-
than the R2-D2 scream.
No, I like when R2 does my favorite sound that comes to
when he gets shocked in Episode 6.
No. When R2 does like when he like rocks back and forth in his
when he just walks.
Yeah.
When he just walks.
No, but it's like
he just wobbles.
Yeah, and is like usually when he wobbles, he will start his like beep start to like accelerate, and he's like he gets excited.
Oh, he gets
basically.
excited.
I
yeah,
like the R2 excited sound. That's very like satisfying to me.
To be honest, the best
music is
battle in
pretty
all
good
of
there,
Star
too.
Wars of all time.
Ahsoka versus Maul.
No.
That's the best one.
R2 versus
The black
R2
droid.
versus Yoda in episode 2 when it's episode 5 when they first get to Dagobah.
R2 versus the
Mine! R2, give it to him.
R2 versus the black droid. In
When this is
Clone
one of those
Wars.
ones that that is a continuity thing because there's no way R2 doesn't know that that's Yoda, and there's no way that Yoda doesn't know that that's
He's playing
R2.
the role, bro.
I guess they
He's
both
playing
playing
along.
along.
They're
I
playing
guess
along.
they're like, listen, we gotta like bring this kid along.
Yeah, R2's playing along. R2's a veteran, bro. He don't care. He knows what he's doing. R2's been.
You know what they should have R2 do too?
Really, no, real quick.
You know what they
realize R2 could have known about this the entire time that one day,
Yes.
like he was gonna have to bring
Yes.
like Luke to Dagobah. That could have been. That fits. Like that literally fits.
I'm gonna
what
go
we
with
know.
that.
Like R2 remembers. He literally took Yoda to Dagobah.
Yes.
Like, in that episode.
He's been there.
Yes, he's been to the.
Yes, Dagobah. Oh fuck! I heard about this.
Yeah.
Somebody told me we were coming back
I
someday.
don't know why he crashed the next time he went there, but
Well, I think Yoda.
Oh,
No,
I
we
guess
discussed
Luke
this.
crashed, I guess.
Yoda made the
R2
ship
did.
crash because it was part of him. He wanted the Luke.
Oh, that is true.
He
That-
wants.
that is a
He
thought.
used the
Yeah.
Force to crash the ship because he wants Luke to struggle
Yeah.
with it. I mean,
That is
it's a
true.
recon, but at the same time, I think with that,
That is that I could go with that. That makes sense.
they should have R2D2 do like commercials for veterans. You know, like Wounded Warriors.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Wounded Warriors.
donate because I'm a veteran too.
What?
So-
All right, I'm done. We
All
gotta
right,
get out of
we're
here.
going to end on that.
We gotta get out
Well,
of here.
thank you for watching, listening. The Next of Kin
today.
podcast. We're sorry we broke your hearts by not
I
broadcasting
know,
last
you were-
week,
you were
but
so devastated. Like,
please express to your counselor our sorrow and any pain that we might have caused you while you were in counseling because we missed an episode of Next of Kin.
highlight of all your weeks.
Avatar 2 update. Still haven't seen it. Pretty proud of that.
Yeah.
Anything
The
else?
movie probably sucks.
It's the greatest movie of all time
give a
according
fuck.
to cinema, but whatever.
Who
I
said
don't,
that?
I don't know. Somebody said it's made a lot
It's
of
gonna
money.
be the same movie as the
It made
first
a
one,
lot-
isn't it?
Well, Zach saw it. I find it hilarious that Zach saw it and we didn't.
yeah, that's fucking ridiculous.
Like, where did he go?
That's fucking ridiculous.
Why did he even go?
He went with his friends.
Well, his
didn't
friends
he? He went
were
with his friends.
go, but
Or our friends. I wouldn't.
all right, well, man, your friends, not my friends.
I'm
I'm
still
too
kidding.
old. I don't have friends. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching, listening. Please follow our socials, and we'll be back next week. Take care.